Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today I will be reviewing this book here, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. You can't see it on the cover of the title, it's right here on the spine. But this book, this was a birthday gift from my mom, one I didn't even request, it was just given to me, and I greatly appreciate it. It's one of the most beautiful books I own. You can see here it has actual gold on the pages. There's illustrations. I probably can't find any to show you, but yeah, it's got illustrations all throughout. It's one of the most beautiful books I own. So I've read a lot of Dickens books, and I first read David Copperfield, I don't even know how long ago. All I know is that I had an old paperback and I read it and I liked it, but upon reread I found I've liked it even more. It's an amazing story. So I'll just explain what it's about. So judging by the title, yes, it's about a character named David Copperfield. So it's kind of, you get to see when he was first born as a baby and how that went. And he has this mother that he grew up with. His father died before he was born, and so he never really knew his father. His mother, she remarries a man who is quite abusive and not good to her or to David, but especially he's really bad with David. And David's new stepfather also has a sister that lives with them, and the sister is not so good either. And so what I learned about David Copperfield upon rereading is he goes through a lot of suffering. He has to deal with his stepfather, then he has to get an education, but the school he goes to is terrible. He meets some friends at the school. So what this book is, there's a lot about relationships, there's a lot of character work, and again, the thing that Dickens does so well is having his normal characters like David, and then he has characters like Mr. Micawber, who you meet later on, who's just more of a caricature. He's more of a, always looking for work, and he's all about being a gentleman, but he's always getting into trouble, and it's just such a good story. So David goes through a lot. Yeah, I would say it's still a spoiler free to say his mother does die early on. He has to deal with that. He deals with a lot. He meets lots of friends. He ends up, falling in love a couple times, and I won't go too much into that, but it does have a good couple of love stories in it that I thought were really well done. So yeah, it's like 800 pages. It's one of the bigger Dickens books, and all throughout this read-through, again, I had this gorgeous book I just showed you. It was just such a pleasant read-through, both because of how nice the book was, the quality of the book with the pages and the illustrations, but also just because it's a very solid story. I thought it was very well done. I have no gripes with it. Dickens is very methodical, is very slow, it's not action-packed, but you don't expect action-packed stuff out of a Dickens book, or most classics. So yeah, upon reread, I would say this is up there as one of my favorite Dickens books of all time. The first time I read it, I don't remember it sticking with me as much, but it's interesting how sometimes we can read something a second time and it clicks with us more that second time than even the first. I got this with The Princess Bride, if you remember that review. So all in all, this is a very solid book. I highly recommend, if you want to read a Dickens book that's a little on the larger side, if you've read some of his, so many of his books are just massive. But honestly, I highly recommend, just the character of David and the friends he meets, his Aunt Betsy Trotwood, which again, Dickens is so good with names, right? You got these, David Copperfield, when he's a student, he meets, or no, it's when he gets a job. He gets a job, a really bad job, and he ends up working with someone named Mealy Potatoes. Like literally Mealy Potatoes. It's so, the names that Dickens comes up with is just ridiculous. Although some of them, like David Copperfield, it's a more normal name. So anyway, I just really loved this reread, and it was just, again, it just shows how good Dickens' writing is, how good his character work is. And honestly, I could just go on and on. I highly praise this book. Yeah, I would say if you haven't read it, you've been thinking about reading it, it's an amazing story. It's really well done. I myself greatly appreciate it upon reread, so I've read it twice now. And now I have this gorgeous book, so every time I'm going to read it again. I get to read this stunning edition. Yeah, I'm just trying to think what else I can say, keeping it spoiler free. It's like I said, he goes through a lot of suffering. He's a character that goes through a lot of pain. But as the book goes on, you start to see some hope. You start to see things go better for him. You start to see him making friends, like Mr. Macabre. So Mr. Macabre and his wife, they're fairly poor. Mr. Macabre is always looking for work, and everything keeps going wrong for him. But keeping it spoiler free, I will just say, let's just say things do turn right for Mr. Macabre and his family, and things start to go better. And I have to mention the villain, because most Dickens books have some sort of villain, and in this case it is, again, another ridiculous name, Uriah Heep. So Uriah Heep is this creepy guy. He's always talking about, he calls himself humble, kind of like saying humble, right? Like he's very humble. And he's going on, but he is just messed up. I mean, David hates him from the beginning, and I mean, why wouldn't he? Uriah Heep is like the worst. So that's what I would say about him. He was a good villain in that you learn to hate him. And I won't say what happens with him. I mean, there's a lot of villains throughout Dickens' books. This was one of the better written villains. You just can't stand him. And like I said, there's romance throughout. There's all sorts of really great stuff, good character moments. So yeah, if you've been on the fence about it, I would say it's a bit to tackle. It's 800 pages, but I would recommend it. Yeah. So this was, like I said, this was one of my favorites. I mean, the characters are just so well done. The book is well paced. It didn't feel slow to me. I mean, I've read so many Dickens books at this time. It doesn't feel slow. It feels like there's always something happening. Yeah, that's probably about all I can say. I just really enjoyed this, and I hope that if you read it, or if you're interested, or if you've read it, leave a comment. I always love it when people comment on my videos. And yeah, so my next video, I'm not sure what it'll be. I'm going to be reading a book now called House of Open Wounds. It's by Adrian Tchaikovsky. The first book is City of Lost Chances, City of Last Chances. And so yeah, that's kind of the next book I'm reading. I don't know when I'll be done. It's another big one. Not as big as David Copperfield, but still like 500 pages. So yeah, we'll see what my next video could be. Either a review of House of Open Wounds or a different video. So anyway, please remember to like and subscribe. And remember, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.